welcome to the Silver Maple Solutions YouTube channel, where I am doing a series on Ask the Experts. Today I have a great guest. His name is Dave Blanchard from Hamilton Cap Tel, and they are making it extremely easy for people to thrive in place that have hearing deficits. And their product is fantastic, and Dave's going to go into it a little bit more in depth, and I'm really excited to have you here, Dave. Thanks so much for joining me.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Mark. It's always a pleasure talking with you, and we're doing good work here. So and I think you guys are too. When you change somebody's lives with technology, that's amazing. That's amazing. Absolutely.
Stuff. Awesome. Well, and we can do it together. So we're
yeah,
really happy to be able to do that. So tell the viewing guests your background, a little bit more about you. I always love to start with a fun fact. So if there's a fun fact that you can lay on us, that would be awesome as well.
You bet. Hey everybody, I'm Dave Blanchard. I live in Wisconsin. I was born and raised here. I've lived in all 4 time zones across the country, have had anywhere from corporate jobs in billion-dollar corporations to mom and pops to starting my own company to being in operations for other smaller companies, family-owned companies. And I currently work for the Nelson family out of Aurora, Nebraska at Hamilton Cap Tel. We provide caption telephones at no cost to individuals with hearing loss, and have done so for I want to say that the caption phones have been around for about 17 years. Hearing relay services, which you may be familiar with, have been around for 27 or 28 years. And an amazing fun fact, and I even have a prop here.
Nice.
So I'm in a German brass band. These are all the pins of the places that we played in Europe in 2019. And so I'm a musician in my other job. But we got to tour Europe, the Czech Republic, Austria, Switzerland, and Germany in 2019, and played in front of all kinds of Europeans, and came away with lots of new friendships. And our band, the Alta Kameraden, is based here in Mequon, and we've been here for 80 years. So that's my fun fact.
Crazy. So what do you play in the band?
I'm a tenor horn player. So if you think about just shy of a tuba, that's my section is the baritones and tenor horns.
Awesome. That's cool. See, I'm learning all these are great things about people. That's one of the reasons why I'm trying to do this. So it's really
exactly.
Very good. Well, thanks for sharing. So tell me about how relay works and how Hamilton Cap Tel makes it easier for people to thrive in place.
You bet. So relay back in the day was, if you know somebody with hearing loss 25 years ago, you had to call a particular number, and then that number would get forwarded to the person with hearing loss so that the information could get communicated to them or relayed to them. So now we have a complement of caption telephones where we locked an engineer in a room about 20 years ago. And we said, you have to be able to figure out this relay thing in a switch that can be put inside of a telephone to make doing a phone call just exactly like it would be if you were using a traditional phone. And so now you pick up the receiver, you dial the number, and there is no more relay hunting for another number or having to hand out a different number to your friends. They call you at your number and you pick up the receiver. If you're making an outbound call, you pick up the receiver, dial the number, and they answer. And they have no idea that the captioning is going on behind the scenes. The great part of that is that switch that takes care of the relay function, it also syncs the captions, which show a scrolling screen of everything the other person is saying. And I'll tell you, if you've got hearing loss, trying to hear on a receiver is almost impossible, depending on what grade of hearing loss you have. The stories that we have from users of our phones get better and more valuable as the hearing loss gets worse, because oftentimes, and I talk about my father-in-law all the time, he was particularly crusty on the phone. and always trying to micromanage the conversation so he could almost anticipate the answer. And it's because he couldn't hear the answer. Worse for talking to my wife, who has a higher pitched voice, easier talking to me because I have a lower pitched voice. So when my son came along 16 years ago and his tiny little voice was really high, he's like, oh, I got to do something about this, because what grandpa doesn't want to talk to their grandson, right? And so we hooked him up with a Cap Tel phone, and his demeanor over the phone became a lot easier going, because he wasn't, if he missed something, he just read along with what the other person was saying. The best part of the whole thing is, you know, if you've got a certified hearing loss, or you're working with an audiologist, or you are working with the VA, you can sign a form that says, I've got a hearing loss. Your hearing professional can sign off on that, and we can give you the phone for free. We can give it to you for nothing.
And it's so important because, you know, it's interesting. As I'm speaking about the Cap Tel phones to people, they, you know, we're walking down the hall in a assisted living facility or an independent living facility, and you walk down the hall and it's just these TVs are blaring and you hear people screaming. That's because they're on the phone. Like, that person needs a Cap Tel phone. It's
Right.
just so glaringly obvious, and a highly needed service. So it's very, very cool. And the phones are cool. I mean, it's really like a phone with almost like a tablet on it. So it's not this antiquated, ugly looking thing sitting in the living room.
Well, and also, you know, that design was very purposeful when we came out with it. We didn't want it to look too much like a computer, because if you know anybody who's 80, 85, 90, sometimes computers can kind of freak them out a little bit. And so it's really just a super easy touch screen. The font can get really big. It's really customized to people. If they've got a little bit of trouble seeing things, you can do the adjustments from a sight perspective. You can do the adjustments from an audiogram perspective. You can set the tones higher or lower to match up with an audiogram. So if they've even got a hearing notch where they can only hear a certain range of tones, we can customize the phone to do that. And we usually do that when we install the phone, and we can actually walk through the steps to make sure that the phone is truly the tool that they're looking for. And then along the way, if they have changes, you know, because hearing loss continues to degrade as you get older, we can continue to change the phone. The other thing I think we've done is we've made the phone available and found easy ways to work with Zoom. So you can actually call in on a Zoom call, and you know, you don't have to pay for captions if you don't want to. You can have your Cap Tel phone sitting right next to your screen. You can watch what everybody's saying on the screen, and you can link right into your Zoom call. So we've really kind of morphed the technology to make sure that it's relevant and it's the tool that you need. And you know, I go back to those engineers that we relocked in a room again. And they're working on the next iteration of what's going on with captions and what's going on with relay services, with the original concept in mind for today's seniors in today's world where, you know, pandemics happen, you know, social places are forbidden, you know, and so we're really trying to make sure that we've got products that mean something to everyone, not just the individual with hearing loss, but the family members around them, because nobody likes calling anybody when they've got hearing loss, because it is that shouting match or the frustration of, I don't understand what you're saying and I wish I could.
Well, and it all boils down to, if we can help the additional pandemic, as far as I'm concerned, of social isolation, that is a byproduct of what's going on, all the better, right? I mean, this has always been really, really important, but now it's extra important that we can get as many people have access to the outside world as possible. And so you guys help do that, and it's a wonderful thing that you're doing.
Well, thanks very much. I really appreciate it. You know, and I think sometimes that's why we pick topics to talk about versus talking about our phone. Like, we love to talk about social engagement, and we love to talk about why you should address isolation. and we talk about the importance of staying connected to family members. And we talk about how your confidence gets a boost if you can make your own doctor's appointment.
Yeah.
And that's what we talk about. And then, by the way, we've got this phone that we can give you for nothing, because honestly, if I've had one, I've had 40 conversations about people that go like, all right, it's fake. It's a scam. You can't give a phone like this away for nothing. And, to explain that away, the Americans with Disabilities Act, which came out when George H.W. Bush was president, pulled hearing loss into the group of disabilities that are covered. And so that little line on your telephone bill, that says taxes and other fees, there is something called the TRS, the Telephone Relay Service Fund, that is managed by the FCC, and we get paid for those minutes. That's how we get to give it away for free. And so we're super transparent about that. And we can afford to give the phone away, and we can afford to take back minutes over time. And we've done that since the inception of this concept.
It's awesome. And the beauty of it is that you also have the ability to bring all of this technology into the future. I know that there's a lot of really cool things that you're working on to actually make it even more accessible and easy to use. And so that's going to be really exciting. I can't wait to hear more about that when you can tell everybody. But it's
absolutely. The magic moment really is, and I've done probably 25 or 30 installations, is when you take somebody that has not been on the telephone for 10 years and you give them the ability to call a kid, or you give them the ability to call a grandchild or a loved one or a spouse or a great friend that they haven't talked to in a long time, and they make the call, and they really can't hear anything, but they can see everything what the other person is saying. That is magic.
Yeah, for sure. It changes your life.
That's what it's all about.
Yeah, changes people's lives. And that's really something that's all of what we're trying to do, to help people thrive in place and give them the independence that they deserve and that they want. And it's a huge barrier if you're having trouble hearing people. I mean, when we trained our caregivers, when I had my in-home care agency, we stuffed cotton in their ears, we wrapped their knuckles in with rubber bands and put gloves on them and put stones in their shoes and rubbed Vaseline on glasses, and just to really give people empathy for what people were going through. And I got to tell you, I mean, the biggest challenge for people, as far as I remember, was, I can't hear anything. What are you saying? And so beyond all the other stuff, hearing loss is real, and it's a real hindrance to people's independence. And so what you guys are doing is really important.
Well, thanks very much. And that's, I think, why we enjoy talking to each other, is you guys have the exact same goal, is like, how can we make the day safer today? How can we make the day better today? How can we make aging in place or your presence in a senior living community better today? And I recently attended CES, and that was the mantra through every single keynote I went to, was how can we make the world a better place? And we're already doing that work, which is, again, it sure makes it easy to get up in the morning.
It sure does. It sure does. As we look into the future, what do you see as the biggest challenge that we will face, or that people that want to thrive in place will face?
Part of it is ageism, I think, that folks that get above a certain age band really don't contribute anymore. They're considered to be less relevant. And when you hang out in senior living communities and you hang out in groups of people, you see the brilliance that lives there, and you see the joy of life that lives there, and you see how much care they give to interactions with their kids and with their grandkids and sometimes great grandkids, and teaching younger generations that there should be great empathy for the generations that are 1 or 2 generations away from them. If we could blend that together somehow and bring those sharp, brilliant young minds together to strategize and brainstorm what's next for taking care of seniors, because if we think there's a lot of them now, there's going to be a whole lot more in 20 years. Yeah. I think connecting those generations and actually creating a think tank, that's the direction we need to go. and eliminate those bias that kind of live from generation to generation to say like, I don't like those old guys, or conversely, those young punks don't know what they're talking about, and so there's value at every generation, and seeing the disparate care of the elders, I think, or the way they take care of elders, that's going to be a big roadblock. That's going to be I think the greatest opportunity we have is finding efficient ways to take care of people. And interesting, when we were in Austria, we heard about families where they live on different levels of the house. You've got the first floor, which is the person that pays the mortgage, and the mortgage never goes away in Austria. It's a lifetime mortgage. So the person that's living on the first floor pays the mortgage, and then grandma and grandpa live on the second floor. And then the grandkids live on the third floor. And it's really the family caring for the family, and though there's something in that model
For sure.
that I think breaks down that ageism thing that I was talking about.
Well, Dave, this has been an awesome experience speaking with you. We go back a little bit here and been working together for a while, helping people thrive in place. And again, I really just loved having you as a guest and appreciate you taking the time and energy to be here, and look forward to speaking with you again really soon.
Awesome. I can't wait to tell you what's next in the world of captioning. And thanks a lot for having me, Mark. Really enjoyed the time.